Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Hello and welcome to the Seattle News Weekly podcast. I'm David Rose alongside Lauren Donovan.
Hey.
We're going to talk about a case that I've been covering for a long time.
Yeah.
I got here in 2007. This happened the year before I got here. It was a horrific double murder. But Lauren recently has dug into this murder because it remains unsolved. And you actually went to the scene of the murder. So I want to take our listeners and viewers back to what you did and the details of this mother and daughter who were hiking on a trail in Snohomish County. And they were found slain in just the most unimaginable way in a really beautiful part of our area. So tell us what you did when you went out there and who you went with.
Yeah, so I think maybe the best way to begin this, David, is setting the scene of where this is. So for folks listening familiar with Seattle and for folks not perhaps familiar with Seattle, we'll get into it. It's an area called the Mountain Loop Highway. Gorgeous greenways. I mean, right now it's fall. The leaves are changing, thick foliage. It's a relatively remote part of our region. Not a ton of people live there. It's in Snohomish County, and it's by, I would say, some communities known to be rough and tumble, a little self-proclaimed. And folks out there are known to go out there to do some things that they don't want people to see. So there's a lot of like illegal shooting ranges, people with heavy artillery and guns, but then there's also some of the most pristine, gorgeous alpine wildernesses that you can access in our state. When you think about mountain lakes, like Fern Gully type cliffs circling these pristine blue waters up in the mountains that you have to hike up to get to. That is where this is taking place.
And this is where Mary Cooper and Susanna Stodden wanted to go on a wonderful hike, which was not unusual for them.
No, and this was on a Tuesday given. And I think that's the craziest thing. Tuesday midday, two women go hiking together. And you're thinking, okay, women in numbers. As a woman, that's something I care about, right? They go on a trail it's not the most popular trail, but it is well known. It's by some other really popular trails in our area, like Mount Pilchuck and Lake 22. So kind of in this same area. And they go up on this hike together. It's about 3.8 miles up to Pinnacle Lake. The trail, as it stands now, is not the best maintained, but I'm told it used to be a lot better. And they were nearing the end of the hike, just about to reach that mountain lake. My understanding is they love to go swimming in these lakes and enjoy them, like many of us in the Pacific Northwest do. And nearly as they're right at the end of the hike, David, is when they were murdered.
What do we know about who detectives think they encountered or what kind of evil they found out there in those woods?
Yeah, so I think the general assumption at this point is it's somebody that knew the area. So there's a lot of logging roads out there. Forest Service roads with a lot of potholes. This is not someplace you just go driving to do a casual hike. These are people usually that kind of know what they're doing. They got the right cars for this, the right stuff. They believe because there were hikers on the trail that day before Mary and Susanna and after Mary and Susanna, that whoever's responsible had a knowledge of the area and they somehow escaped cutting their own backcountry trail, you might say, to get away from this clearing where it all happened. And this is like where they were murdered, David, is like the spot you pull over when you're kind of tired from going up a hike on switchbacks. You want to grab your sandwich, take a sip of water, sit on the log. Like it's a natural resting spot where this all happened.
And they were both found shot to death. Detectives have recovered evidence. A lot of people are familiar with genetic genealogy and how that works nowadays, and that has solved a lot of cases. They're not there yet. They are trying to reconcile the case, and by that I mean I visited their red room, is what they call it, which is a room of their unsolved cases at the sheriff's office, and they showed me all of these different files. What they do is they take out the entire file, they go through it, they reconcile it, and they look for things they can retest for DNA. And if they get DNA, they can then submit that for genetic genealogy. And so you see a lot of the killers that had never been caught for 30 years getting caught. They're not there yet. So they're asking for tips still for people who might have known who kind of lurked in that area and been suspicious. Now, on the day you went up there, who did you go with?
So then this is an important wrinkle. I'm glad you brought this up. So I went with two sheriff's deputies, Snohomish County. One of them is working primarily with these cold cases. So he's got over 100 on his plate right now. And this is one of them, 50% of which which are homicides or believed to be homicides. So he was with me, and they were in full tactical gear, heavily armed. They say this is a place they don't go out just lightly. Like, they may go for a hike, but they have to be careful.
Yeah, that's
Law
Detective
enforcement when they're
Dave
out there.
Bellew, who is now handling these cases.
Yeah, Dave. And then we went with the father and the husband of Mary and Susanna.
David Stodden.
David Stodden. And David, for at least a decade, was a person of interest in this case. And then after taking, I believe it was like 3 polygraph tests, his name was cleared. And so he was kind of leading the pack with one of his good buddies who's done the hike many times, because they're trying to figure out, okay, how could somebody slip away? How could nobody see them coming back on the trail? Whoever shot and killed David's daughter and his wife, you know?
And when you get to the scene up there, there's a sign up on a tree that he put up. What does that sign say?
Yeah, and I think actually, to clarify, I think it was like family members of his. So a lot of David's family has come up and hiked that area, and they're trying to kind of reconcile things. He's done it about 10 times or so, but it has Mary and Susanna's names, and it's kind of high up in a tree. There's a little bit of moss growing on it now, and it's just in memory of them. Yeah. So
I want to play a clip here, and after the clip, you can kind of explain what we're listening to and what we're seeing here.
How can 2 women be out hiking on a nice day in July, which thousands of people do every summer in the Northwest, and be executed?
Okay, what's he doing there?
Yeah, so David was sitting in the clearing where his daughter and his wife were found dead, shot, as you said, and he was reading a poem. And David said, you know, when this first started happening and when he was a person of interest, he began hiking and doing a lot of ultra marathons and things like that to keep himself busy, kind of like the old Teddy Roosevelt, take action, stay sane type deal. But then over time, he began to write poems. This is a poem that he wrote reflecting on everything during a trip to the Grand Canyon, and he read it out there in front of us. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, it's really heavy. And you honestly, as a reporter, kind of standing there, there's an awkward position of like, I feel like I'm listening to something I shouldn't be listening to, you know, like there's like a voyeurism element, right?
But let's be very clear. He invited you.
Oh, he did.
To go up there.
Yeah. Well, he invited you first and foremost. Let's clarify that, David. And then I do hike. So then David was like, oh, maybe Lauren can do that.
I don't hike. I don't like to hike.
So, but we had really candid conversations on the way up. And it was really interesting to see the back and forth with him and the sheriff's deputies too, the investigators that were trekking up with us.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I have another clip here that I want to play for people. Let's play this clip.
Salt of the earth people, no known enemies. They're miles away from their home in Seattle. Why wouldn't that stick out to investigators?
Yeah, so that's Detective Dave Bellew talking about that area and talking about his own experience and with that area and why this case means so much to get this solved.
I mean, he just got to the heart of it right there. And I think that was like a really special interaction with law enforcement to like, we spent a couple hours hiking up there. We had all of our camera gear, getting to know each other in a way that you don't always get to do on stories. And I feel like Dave was such a great voice. Like, he's so invested in this community. He wants to work with these folks who largely have felt like frustrated with his department, and he's not shying away. He's like, I'm gonna prove to you that we can solve this thing or make some progress in this case regardless. And yeah, I mean, just think about anybody with a wife, a daughter, just someone you love going out for a hike and never returning in the middle of the week on a Tuesday.
Yeah. You know, I've never gotten the feeling from David Stodden that he was a suspect. I know he's been cleared completely, and I don't know why they ever even thought that, but he's done everything he can to so they would focus on other people. And I will tell you, I know they have focused on some other people. At least one person had a rock-solid alibi, and so that person was ruled out entirely. But they do think people have talked about this and or maybe somebody's mentioned something to somebody, or maybe they've been drunk in a bar and they bragged about something. But what was your impression, just the time you spent with David? I know this has had a horrific impact on his life, but what's your impression of him?
I mean, I think he's just, he's heartsick. You think he'd be fatigued and not wanting to do this again and again. Like, how you've done this 10 times, you want to go up to this site where your loved ones were killed, and he's got 2 more daughters too. So this has had a whole toll on his entire family. And so I was kind of shocked knowing how many times he's gone up there. He's still putting up signs, posters, trying to raise awareness. But I think knowing just how brazen the crime was, knowing that whoever did it could have run into people on the trail at any other point. Like, there were hikers that were nearby Mary and Susanna and just happened to pass them by, right? Like, the brazen nature of this crime makes me feel, and just from the conversation, that somebody knows something. If somebody was going to do this, they probably would have told someone.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I've got one more clip here that I want to play.
I want to put the pieces of this puzzle together and bring some answers to the family and the community, and then hopefully put somebody into prison.
Yeah, so that's the Crime Stoppers flyer that's been up, and what Dave basically is saying is they're not going to stop, right? So I've seen this move from detective to detective. Brad Walvotny had it for a while. He got promoted to sergeant, so he's now sergeant over patrol, so now Detective Bill Yu's moving in here. So they're not going to let this go. They're going to do what they need to do. And I think it's important he shows his face and you hear his voice, because he wants to connect with somebody, because they can keep people anonymous. They don't have to put your name in a police report.
Yeah, and I think seeing him as a person, like, he's such a trusting guy, and the short time I got to know him, I can tell he's really passionate about what he does. He's an ex-Marine, like, he's a tough guy, but he's also somebody that you'd want to have a drink with at the bar. You know, like that.
I play golf with him, so.
Well, I know you played golf with him, David,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So, and he taught me a lot too. Like, we kind of walked through things, and I got to step into the shoes of an investigator in a way I haven't before as a reporter. So I really appreciated that opportunity. And he's been trying to spotlight this case in particular, going on true crime podcasts, raising awareness for this. And something that Dave was telling me that I think really stood out to me is with DNA advancements and whatnot, right? He said, you know, because I was asking him, like, AI, sorts of new information, like, how is there any way we can move things forward in a way we hadn't with the evidence that we already have? And he was saying, even if we can't now, maybe there is something in the future, and the work that I am doing now maybe can help us solve this case, if not today, in 5 years or 10 years. You know, maybe it's not Dave, but he's determined that it will get solved.
You know, it's amazing how far DNA has come. I mean, leaps and bounds, even in just the last 5 years, what they can work with. And they've saved all of this evidence. So you can go back and you can retest it, and maybe you find something before, because it is expensive to go through all this, right? If you do genetic genealogy, you got to come up with $7,000. The Attorney General's office will usually give a grant to departments, and we've seen that. But there's also a long wait. So people don't understand that when they submit something to the State Patrol Crime Lab, it can take a year to get DNA back on something, especially on an old murder mystery. But they're playing the long game here. The concern, I think, on everybody is that how terrifying to know that there is
someone still out there.
Yeah, a killer from all the way since 2006.
I mean, it was eerie to me. So we walked up with that whole crew, and then we came down, just the photographer Pablo and I, with our gear. And then there would be moments where, like, we were trying to get the natural sounds of the woods and, like, bring it together. And then it felt spooky. I mean, you're surrounded by these gorgeous, tall Douglas firs dripping with moss, like beautiful old growth trees, like
you had water
brooks,
babbling,
all of that stuff. And then knowing what happened, like, if I was any other hiker walking up this trail, I would think this is so gorgeous. But knowing what we know, everything felt different. And it felt different coming down by ourselves too. Yeah. So.
Well, certainly my heart breaks for David. And I think it's terrible what he's had to go through. But it has not deterred him.
Having to clear his own name, too.
Yeah. It has not deterred him from continuing to push for justice. Crime Stoppers is offering a reward on this case, and you will remain anonymous. You can call 1-800-222-TIPS or use the P3 Tips app. Just download it to your phone. It's free. Yeah. And then you can take pictures, video. You can submit tips on anything. It goes right to law enforcement.
And there's monetary rewards.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And you can find all that on our website, fox13seattle.com. You can just Google Mary Stodden, for example, and that will come right up. Lauren, thank you for going up there and doing that.
Thank you for setting me up.
We've talked about covering crime a lot, and I know it can be overwhelming, and so you kind of, rightly so, pick and choose, so that you have a good balance in there. But I'm so grateful to you for going up there and telling their story.
Well, and I think to that avail, David, I think something we talk about, it's hard, like when you're a reporter and you arrive on the scene of, like, the worst day of somebody's life in the immediate aftermath of a loss. And it feels like you're infiltrating, like, I shouldn't be here. But this is David reaching out to you, and then me by association.
Oh, we're a team.
To ask for help. And that's when it feels like this is the journalism we should be doing. This feels really ethical. Like, what can we do to help revive this 19-year-old cold case?
Yeah.
Like, that's when it feels right, you know?
Well, it is right. And what else has that suspect done since then? It always sticks in the back of my head.
Yeah.
That's going to conclude this podcast. You can listen to this on anywhere you get a podcast. We put it on the Fox 13 YouTube. Everywhere else anybody listens to a podcast, we're going to have it on there. For Lauren, I'm David Rose. Thanks for listening and watching, and we'll see you next week.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.